your skin should slide easily over your bones in all directions. Hey, how many times has this happened to you? It's time to recover. You realize your ankles suck, and you're like, what am I going to do about it? Here's what you're going to do about it, Dave. We've got the sneaky attack. We're going to do a lot of addressing some of the osteofascial connections, which is short term for where does my connective tissue touch to my bones, right? So here's what you do. Grab your roller, do a touch on yourself. Your skin should slide easily over your bones in all directions. So check right up here, back up here, watch this. Slides right up here. See that? Anytime there's a bone, your skin should slide. But sometimes, if I wind up and make this tight, you get the idea. I have a little bit of motion, but when I check this on a lot of people, it is stuck down, which literally creates an exoskeleton. You're trying to move underneath a stiff coat of armor. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take the roller, take your roller, trusty roller. I love, this is the 럼블롤러 with a little bit of gription, which I think is a specialized word, or I saw it on a tire. All right, so watch what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna just tack back and forth and see if I can't push and pull that connective tissue to slide over the bones here. So I'm sliding back and forth. So your retest will be, hey, can I get my skin to move? Should that move, yes and no? And it's easy to do that side to side. I just tack. I can even add a little bit of motion. So I can tack that up, get towards the end here, tack, and then just add a little bit of a push and a pull through that. And what I'm doing there is just making sure that that skin slides, and then it slides past that tack down spot. Again, working that above and below. So what I'm doing is I'm scrubbing those tissues so that they have some of that motion in those different directions. Theoretically, I'd want to go this direction, back and forth too, but that's going to feel weird. So if I do the best I can to get this tissue to slide, we used to do this with a lacrosse ball and some fascial percussion, right? Remember that? But it turns out this works pretty well on top of the bony aspects. And I'm going to rock that into just really take this to the back corner and just work on sliding there. And I can work towards the front and just improve how all of that system is working around the foot. Every once in a while, we'll talk to an athlete who feels like they've got some heel pain, they feel like they've got something going on the bottom of the foot. And really what's happening is that this fascia has become just a little bit restricted, and it's really ended up kind of mucking up the mechanical system. So as we're trying to unravel and peel the layers of onion around dysfunction around the foot, when people are in pain conditions, we start crossing things off the list. Hey, could this be contributing? I don't know, let's improve it and see. And that's how we think about these problems, because it's always going to be more than one aspect of the system. But if I can improve one component of it, that's a win. So let's do the other foot here. We'll kind of just keep treating this direction. So I'm just going to roll up, get this foot to slide back and forth from heel all the way out to the other side, to the front, and just tacking and pushing and pulling, just getting that tissue to slide, and then don't be afraid to add that foot motion back in. If we can improve this, we unload how that peroneal is running behind the foot on this side, we improve how even the posterior tib is on that side. It's pretty amazing, and you can see how if I suck up the fascia on one side, it really impacts the whole system. So we're just not seeing this as a dynamic system. We see these as really separate compartments, and they're not. They are contiguous with the container, if you're with me, Dave. So just working on sliding back and forth. We don't have to do this once a week, but just every once in a while we touch base with it. Again, just can we address these osteofascial compartments and components, and just working that up. Does it slide? Do I feel like I have full excursion? Can I push and pull a little bit? And it doesn't take much, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, that is better. Now my skin looks like a Shar-Pei, Dave. And that's really the goal. Welcome to Shar-Pei WOD. I'm sure it already exists. Don't check it. All right. So now we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to go on the front. So now I'm right above the ankle, and I'm just going to scrub back and forth, tacking and pushing and pulling, work on the corners. I can push and pull, make some circles, but really, can I just free up how that retinaculum is working with the skin and the tissue underneath it?
So this will be our next piece. And I'm just working kind of 360 here, right? Can I just get that to slide and scrub? Sit back on that, just freeing that up. Anything I can do to improve the tolerances of the system here. Usually we're kind of perseverating on joint capsule, but in this case we're really going to just make sure that this superficial fascia is not a component. Then I'll hit the other side. The problem is, when do I address these things, right? Feels like there's so many little components, and there are, and this is why we feel like if you continue to just muck around with these different components of the system when you're at home, then we're going to be able to work through them all, right? These kind of system checks, as it were. You know, the problem is this a good thing to do at the gym? Well, you know, maybe it's not the best if you use your time at the gym in those moments, but if that's when you got it, get it. But otherwise, this is the perfect chance when you're at home and not in the gym when you need a lot of equipment. All right, next piece. We're going to go after the Achilles and look at how heel cord is articulating into the bottom of the foot. And I can do that with our classic tack and scrub. And I'm just pulling back and forth, just trying to free up how that skin is sliding. And I'm able to do that, whatever surface I have, it's going to be great. But just working back and forth. And notice I've worked all the way up to the base of the gastroc here. So I'm working on making sure that this whole system can articulate. And you see that if I grab your skin back here, one is you're going to be like, what the hell are you doing? Stop that. Two, can you actually grab it? And for a lot of our athletes, we cannot dissociate these superficial layers from the sliding surfaces underneath. Even when I'm in plantar flexion, I still have a little bit of, or dorsiflexion, I can still push and pull that. So that's what we're trying to get back to. Make sure that we're actually addressing the bone here, or where that skin is attaching onto the calcaneus. So I can pull, push, just get a little scrubbing back and forth. You can see what's happening to the whole tendon sheath. When people have plantar fasciopathies here, we often see restriction up here. When people have Achilles tendon problems, we rarely see systems or treatments that are addressing the health of the tendon sheath and addressing the kind of common tendon as it relates to the whole system. So are we improving blood flow? Check. Are we getting microcirculation? Whatever language works for you to hear, this is a good way. Not to mention that we're just desensitizing these areas by freeing up some of the attachments and the sensitization components that may be sensitized. When we change some of that architecture a little bit, it can give us radical changes in how the whole system feels. So I'm just working side to side. Just getting a little scrub in there. Loading. Those of you who are really tacked down here, you're going to feel this. You'll feel that this makes a big difference. Those of you who are like Sharpay's already, congratulations. You touched the base. Just saw a friend over at the house. She had a little plantar on Achilles tendinopathy, and what we looked at when we saw was she had just gone for a big run and then didn't do anything, and then went for another big run the next day, and then she was lit up a little bit. And when we looked and examined some of the components of the mechanics of this system, she was highly restricted in some of these tissues, as happens sometimes when you just get behind, you know. She's got a couple girls, working super hard, and literally got her 60-mile run in, and then went right back to her life. Didn't get lots of warm-ups, didn't get lots of cool-downs, wasn't compressing, wasn't using the Mark Pro, wasn't doing any of those kinds of things. Went for another 8-mile run the next day. That was enough to sensitize her, right? She didn't have any damage to the tissue, wasn't injured, but definitely feeling it. And when we didn't necessarily heal her, but we were able to improve her mechanics this is part of the intervention, and literally what ends up happening is, hey, her symptoms are gone as that thing heals, which is what we're trying to do. Try to address the symptoms as we create more efficient mechanics in the area and system. All right, last piece. Just get into a comfortable state, and I just want to scrub the insertion of that heel, and I'm just standing on there, and I'm just going to peel out and see what that looks like if I can just imagine putting a cigarette out on the bottom of the foot here. And all we're trying to do is just think, hey, what's going on around some of the bony skin attachments around the bottom of the foot? And just a second here of just peeling out right where that plantar fascia is coming into the heel. Just a hot 30 seconds or so. Oftentimes we try to remind our patients and athletes, hey, treat until it stops feeling bad. And if it's feeling good, mobilize until it stops feeling good, just starts to feel like Switzerland. Right? So if you're feeling pain, right, and you're like, ooh, then stay on there. And all of a sudden it'll start to feel better. And then if you're feeling like, oh, that's the greatest itch of all times, scratch that itch until your hands are bloody. No, not that. Just not that, Dave. Scratch that itch until it just feels like, you're not doing me a favor anymore, you know? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like the way my wife scratches my back until she's tired,
Right.
which is usually about 3 seconds. She can't hear. She has her headphones in. That's why I can talk smack about her right now. And Lisa just giggled nervously. She's like, ooh, fight. Guess what? How's that? We didn't even go after the joint capsule. We didn't even address motor control. But when I sit down, it's almost like my Shar self is sliding more effectively. And that is the goal. Good morning.